Hey everybody. So a little bit of media talk. First, Don't Look Up. This is a film written and directed by Adam McKay. He directed, I think most famously, The Big Short, a very smart film. Vice, the sort of surreal biopic of Dick Cheney with Christian Bale, who gained a bunch of weight to play Dick Cheney. I don't think that Adam McKay can make a bad film, really. I mean, brilliant stuff. The most recent film, though, Don't Look Up, part of it came out of a conversation with David Sirota. David Sirota was the one who came up with the idea of using a meteor, or in this case a comet, as a stand-in for climate change. The world's about to be destroyed by a comet 6 months from now, and nobody's paying attention. Or, nobody wants to hear about it, nobody wants to talk about it. This is a metaphor, or, it's allegory, not sure. It's a stand-in for climate change. This is a film about climate change, even though they don't really talk about climate change. And there are a few places where, the message is a little bit on the nose, but for the most part, it's very funny. It's well written, well constructed, beautifully photographed, with an amazing cast. I mean, an amazing cast. Now, I know a lot of people hate Leonardo DiCaprio. It's because he was young and pretty once. And he's rich and famous, and he has big yachts and parties with models. But, sure, let's hate him for that. But he's a pretty decent actor, and he can really deliver in a comedic role. And I think we really saw that in Wolf of Wall Street, which is a black comedy. And this is a black comedy. It's very funny. So on Twitter, not the leftists so much as the professional managerial class, just the standard Clintonista blue tribe normies, hate this movie because somebody told them that David Sirota wrote it. He didn't. Who is David Sirota? And why do the PMC, blue tribe normies hate him? He worked for Bernie Sanders' campaign. He's written some speeches for Bernie Sanders. He said a few things. He wrote some opinion pieces which were critical of Hillary Clinton. Therefore, it is his fault that Trump won the election. And, the fact that food spoils and sometimes it rains on your day off, this is all David Sirota's fault. And so, people on Twitter are going out of their way to, virtue signal how much they hate this movie, how terrible this movie is because it is associated with terrible, evil, terrible, awful, awful David Sirota. One person I saw called them, said they hate the film because David Sirota is a white supremacist. Okay, David Sirota didn't write this film. He did not write the screenplay. It was written by Adam McKay, and it's brilliant. It is very funny. It is clear what it's talking about, even though it never expressly says what it's talking about. The send-ups of various media and political figures are hilarious. This is a well-executed, good film. I have come across one valid criticism of it, though, and it's a good criticism. Here it is. On Twitter, Jeff Schollenberger, who I don't know from Adam, not Adam McKay, Adam the first man. I don't know who this guy is, but he writes, he's responding to somebody from Film Updates who writes, Adam McKay's Don't Look Up is now the #1 film on Netflix in every country, to which Jeff Schollenberger writes, this fact is more proof that the film's thesis is diametrically wrong. A critical mass of the world's population loves being told the very sort of thing the film claims they don't want to hear. The function of the film, ironically, is to sustain the myth that this isn't the case. So, I'm not 100% sure I know what he's talking about, but this is how I read it. And, from my personal experience, I know lots of people are eager to hear about the end of the world. If you tell people that the world will end in 6 months at 2 o'clock on a Tuesday, this will be good news for them. This will be a weight off their shoulders. The chronic stress of, running in place on this ever-accelerating treadmill, trying to keep your head above water economically, you don't have to worry about it anymore. It's all ending. And you know what? The rich people are going to die right along with you. The blue tribe, professional managerial class, Clintonistas are going to die in the same fireball that takes you. Yay. Victory. I know a lot of people are hungry for news about the end of the world. Not the people who are doing really well, not the David Sirotas of the world, not the Adam McKays. I mean, he's a great filmmaker, but yeah, he's a rich guy. hobnobs with political bigwigs. He's in that class of people for whom the final line, Leonardo DiCaprio's final line in the movie, their spoiler warning, the world ends. Leonardo DiCaprio has the chance, or Dr. Mindy, his name is, has the chance to get on a spaceship with, the Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Tim Cook amalgamation character, and the President of the United States and go to another planet. He opts not to. He decides to stay home and have a nice dinner with his family and his friends and, die. And his last line is, "We really had everything, didn't we? We threw it all away. We blew it." He doesn't say that. I'm expanding on that. But again, that's the David Sirota class. That's the Adam McKay class. That's the people who are doing well in this society. The people who don't have money worries other than, what do I do with all this freaking money? Yeah, for them, the end of the world sucks. But for so many people, it's good news. Jeff Schellenberger continues, "It's important to recognize what this is. A legitimation narrative whereby the cognitive elite assigns itself a world-saving, and thus not self-interested role, and disqualifies dissenting views as not merely wrong, but immoral, because complicit in the destruction of the world." So, yeah, I mean, if there is a criticism to be made of this film, and yeah, I think this is a good one. Really, it paints the people who love to catastrophize about climate change and use it as a club to beat their political opponents over the head with and to cast other people in the role of self-interested jerks while they themselves are these selfless, angelic saviors of humanity and the biosphere because, they're up in arms about climate change. There's bits in the movie, where Leonardo DiCaprio, he's clearly, talking not as a character in the film, but as a mouthpiece for, this body of elite opinion makers. When he says things like, "We know it's coming because we have the data," and there's big spoilers. I mean, if you haven't seen it, I recommend you see the film. I'm giving criticisms of it here, but it's a well-constructed film, has an amazing cast, it is well written. It's a good movie that some people have political disagreements with. Given this Jeff Schellenberger guy's his tweets, yeah, I agree. I mean, there are criticisms to be made, but they're meta-criticisms. They're criticisms of the messaging of the film. They're not criticisms of the film itself. The film itself is well-constructed. It is put together by a group of very, very talented people who do their jobs extremely well. It is a funny movie. It is an entertaining movie. If you haven't seen it, you won't be disappointed. You won't wish for those 2 hours back, when the movie is over. It's well done. But, yes, it does paint a certain portion of society who hold themselves blameless as blameless, when in fact, if you look beyond, if you have, any scope of vision beyond climate change, end of the world doom, if you're looking at economic justice or matters of, sustainability or geopolitical issues, I mean, yeah, there's a lot that this group of people willfully ignore because it's not in their interest to address it, whereas it is in their interest to address, or to at least pretend to address, climate change. Okay, enough about Don't Look Up. It's a good movie. A lot of people are making very bad criticisms of it. I've relayed to you one good criticism. Book of Boba Fett. It started today on Disney+. It's another Jon Favreau production. He's the showrunner. Really, it's just a continuation of The Mandalorian. It's like Mandalorian Season 3 or Season 2.5, but Din Djarin isn't in it. Grogu's not in it. Cara Dune's not in it. Grief Karga's not in it. So, it just follows Boba Fett and his new sidekick, Fennec Shan. It's got two parallel narratives. There's a flashback narrative. He's lying in a back-to-tank healing from his, grievous wounds. And he's remembering. He's remembering escaping from the Sarlacc pit. He's remembering Jawas stealing his armor, and he's remembering being taken captive by the Tusken Raiders, aka the Sand People, and slowly, being abused by them, but slowly earning their respect. But these are intercut with scenes from current day in the narrative where Boba Fett is going into, first he's receiving visitors who are paying tribute to him, recognizing his authority as the new crime boss in the area. But the mayor of a nearby town, or the surrounding territories, sends his major domo in his place with no gift. And in fact, the mayor expects a gift. And Boba Fett says, well, the gift is I'm letting your emissary leave with his life. We'll talk. So there's a power struggle coming. Boba Fett and Fennec Shand go into town, Mos Espa, I think it is, and they start collecting tribute, and they start, showing one how he's going to be different. Like Fennec is saying, you should let your guards, bear you through the streets on a litter, and Boba Fett's like, no, I'm not about that. I'm the kind of guy who walks on his own 2 feet. I don't get carried around. Which, a lot of people are seeing this as signs of weakness, and his strength is tested. I don't really need to say more than that. But he ends up hurt, and he's got to go back into the bacta tank for some more flashbacks. So that's the narrative structure. It's really well done. It looks great. Tamara Morrison is great as Boba Fett. It's great to see him with the helmet off. It's just, it feels like it's in the Star Wars universe. And, this is a product from Jon Favreau, but more importantly, his perpetual sidekick now, Dave Filoni, who ran all the animated series for a decade. Dave Filoni is George Lucas's Padawan. He knows the Star Wars universe, whereas Kathleen Kennedy, J.J. Abrams, the people they brought in to do the Disney sequel trilogy, so-called sequel trilogy, they didn't know Star Wars, and that's why those films don't feel like they take place in the Star Wars universe. This is back in the real, old school, genuine, gritty, feels right Star Wars universe, and I love it. So I'll say no more than that. Other than Happy New Year, and I will talk to you again soon. Stay well.